Welcome back, YouTubers, to yet another Q&A with me, Mr. Parkin, and this guy sitting next to me, Mr. Perky NJ.
What's
Do you know
up?
why I said that, NJ? It's because as soon as I
Okay.
said Q&A, you went,
Yeah.
I'm ready, yes. It's like
Yep.
you were asleep, like, you know, a little sloth, and then you turned into a bloody lion as soon as I turned on the video or something. Anyway, we're the British Fist. This is Q&A number 213. We're going to try and get through as many questions as we can from you guys as within the 20-minute slot. Thank you ever so much for asking us more questions, and keep doing it in the comment section, please.
We cannot get tired of your questions, so keep them coming.
I'm tired of these questions. No jokes.
No.
The Chase Allen. What guys do you think could be the future of WWE? What NXT guys do you think? Well, I mean, obviously, the obvious one would have been Kevin Owens, but he's on the roster now.
Okay, I'm gonna get hate for this. I really am.
Go on.
I'm not. One of the obvious answers would be Balor, but
Yeah.
me, I just don't always see it all the time.
So you don't think that Balor?
I think he's gonna get the push, but I don't really believe in him as much as I should.
Well, to be honest, one person who's kind of on your side is just like Daddy. He doesn't really see much in Finn Balor either. I mean, obviously, I think he's a good talent. A lot of people like him because he came from Japan. You know, you got this whole, you know, always being on Japan, so he must be really good. You know, blah blah blah. You know, really, I've just been judging him on what he's been doing in the WWE, and I just think he seems to have a lot of things there that I think WWE would get the most out of, hopefully. But I think they're the obvious two. I think Kevin Owens and Finn Balor, they're the obvious two, because it's mainly because they're the two people that WWE have done the most with in NXT.
True.
And maybe a Sami Zayn as well, but I think that Sami Zayn will be nothing more than a bit part player. But there you go. What is your favourite wrestling era? PG.
Attitude.
I'm gonna say Linda's Senate campaign. No, of course. No, of course it has to be the Attitude Era. I mean, that was when wrestling was cool. That was when, you know, we have to, you know, that was back in the days when your parents didn't want you watching wrestling, but you rebelled against it anyway, and you went into school talking about it, when you could talk about it with people and it would be the cool thing to talk about.
And it's the era that has been the only era fans have wished to come back. Other eras, yeah, they were good, and it would be nice for them to show some signs of that era. But the Attitude Era has only been the real era that people still wish was here today.
Well, I think what it was a starting point for a lot of fans. And if you look at it at the time, I mean, obviously this happened in the golden era as well, which I'm sure a lot of 30-plus-year-olds would probably prefer. But at the time in the Attitude Era, you know, you had 10 plus million people watching wrestling every week. So, you know, that in itself, you know, makes you think, well, that had to be good if more than 10 million people, most of which are probably casual viewers, were watching the product. So there you go.
Yeah.
Who was the last great IC and US champion? I reckon. Let's start with IC. I mean, Cody Rhodes was a good champion. I wouldn't say he was a great champion.
I don't think he did that stood out apart from winning the IC belt.
No, I mean, that's why I'm saying he was a good champion, but not a great champion. I suppose you'd have to go back to like the Bret Hart era, you know, of like, you know, the early 90s to get a great IC champion, and maybe go back to like the Tully Blanchard days of being a US champion. That was the last time those two titles really meant anything, back when it was, you know, back when Bret Hart was kicking ass in the WWE, and when Tully Blanchard was part of the, I believe he was part of the Four Horsemen back in the NWA.
I'm actually floating around thinking back in the day when the likes of JBL was holding these certain belts, because obviously he was a hated heel and he made his title defenses mean something. So I could go back to the JBL being champion time.
What about John Cena, 2004 US champion? Would you say he was a great US champion?
Better than now.
Obviously, led to great things. Anyway, yeah, let's move on from that question. Like I said, I think you have to go back to those days before you can say there was a great IC or US champion. But there have been good ones, but just not great in recent era, in my opinion. Lance Runt. Speaking of the Attitude Era, if WWE were to bring back Attitude Era, would Bryan, Ziggler, Neville, etc. survive? They would probably be in the Cruiserweight division.
I think Attitude Era time, I think some of these would be the likes of, they'd bring in entertaining matches for what they put their bodies through, but be pushed to the main event.
No. No way. No fucking way would these lot be getting pushed to the main event when you've got Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock, Undertaker, Kane, all sorts of people like that. Like I said, I think they'd either be in the cruiserweight division or they'd be like ECW type wrestlers
I
or
think
something.
they maybe find for the mid card because I think when you have like Jeff Hardy and that going up there, I think the fact is having the likes of Dolph Ziggler fighting a Jeff Hardy back then, Daniel Bryan fighting there against like Lord Voldemort, I think that would have been somewhat good matches.
I don't know. I just think you had better mid card characters back then that stood out, like Val Venus and people such as like Goldust, etc. The Godfather. I just think you had more mid card characters that stood out, and if you put them against a Daniel Bryan or a Ziggler or a Neville, they just look so vanilla, and no one would. I mean, Bryan, if he didn't have all this fandom, if you put him against the Godfather, you'd be fucking marking out for the Godfather. Am I correct? He comes out with all the hose and everything. Daniel Bryan, what does he have?
If you go to my match, Bryan versus Lord Voldemort, right. I think because of the skills and the type of wrestling each one of them bring, you'd be like, oh, this is a great match. Look what this guy's doing. Look what this guy's going.
Would you rather not have seen Benoit against Chris Jericho or maybe like an Austin or a Rock? This is what I'm saying. They weren't. I mean, you wouldn't really want to see Benoit and Bryan back then because you'd have so many bigger tier talents.
But before Benoit got to the main event scene, he was fine, like the Chris Jericho. Yeah. But so it's not Chris Jericho, Benoit, or Benoit angle each and every week. Throwing in a Bryan there who offers good wrestling for what he does, I think it'd be an exciting match and a different match than seeing the repeated feuds.
Well, believe it or not, me and NG differ in opinion on something. If you own WWE, would you push a guy who makes money but isn't over, or push a guy who is just over? Definitely push a guy that makes money. I mean, if you own a business, you want to make as much money as possible, so you'd obviously push the guy that makes money. Yeah, I'm just saying that's what I would do as a businessman.
Just so I don't sound hypocritical, I'd probably, even though it is a business you want to make money, the fact we complain about John Cena because obviously how much money he would bring for the company, that kept forcing the WWE to keep pushing him because he was bringing in money. And that's what made us hate partly the WWE and hate John Cena. So I think breaking that mold and doing the whole concept of the other way may not work straight away, but you still need to find that other person that can make it work other than John Cena.
If the internet were to shut down for a year, would WWE feel more interesting? I'd be more worried about my health and what I would do for entertainment than worrying about WWE personally. Just saying.
And that is from the entertainment aspect, but for the WWE, I do hate the fact how much dirt sheets and stuff are making you not really have to tune into a show, how it ruins surprises that could potentially be surprised if they were ruined beforehand. Get rid of it for a year.
They just come back after a year, though. I mean,
after a year, but for that year, yes, I'm expecting there'll be more surprises to fans happening on Raws and stuff. So I think there may be some benefit in that. But obviously, it's something that the WWE feed off with their, Twitter stuff and their website.
I think if WWE were clever enough, they would use it to their advantage.
True.
But they just don't. Because, that's WWE. Renegade Man 83, are you guys a fan of cricket? I know you're not really a sports person, are you?
Cricket did good for me back in the days when I was in school because it helped me get off lessons to watch big cricket matches.
I would say I'm a fan of cricket. I used to play cricket with some friends of mine, never competitively, but I used to enjoy playing it. I always enjoy watching the Ashes when England play Australia, and I do watch cricket occasionally. I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore fan of cricket, but I do enjoy the sport. So that's my very simple answer on that one. How come you don't have your opening entrance in your videos anymore? Your music was cool. The reason why we did that was, number one, copyright. We couldn't do it because of copyright. And number two, we wanted to shorten our videos a little bit to try and increase audience attention. And there was another reason. I can't remember it, though.
I'm sorry, the main purpose is, you are so right. It was such a cool introduction.
Who did all the editing? Me. I did all the editing. I made that music video cool. You cannot deny that.
I was actually smarting my jacket pretending it was me.
Oh, sorry, right.
But yes.
Pretending.
Yes, I think I have to thank Evolution, thank the creators of the actual theme song to provide us that. But I think at the end of the day, when we started to go down the corporate route and earning our pennies,
Yeah,
pennies, literally
they
pennies.
wouldn't let us use that, would they?
No,
Yeah,
but
so
I think to bring it back, if wishes were fishes, if we weren't to be affected,
yeah.
it would come back. But yeah, we
For
sold
Go on.
out.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't necessarily
Sell
sell out. We
out.
just wanted to make some money off something that we, thought that we enjoyed at the time, and we were making a little bit of money off. Who can blame us? It was kind of nice saying to people, "I've got 2 jobs, and one of those jobs is me being on YouTube earning money." Always be a good conversation starter at a party. Trust me. Until I mentioned the fact that I was reviewing wrestling shows. But no, I mean, I would agree. It was good, but it served a purpose at the time, and then we kind of had to move on from it. Otherwise, we couldn't evolve our channel and evolution theme tune. So,
But I will say I do miss it.
yeah, so do I. I've still got it saved on my laptop somewhere,
Beautiful.
maybe on a hard drive. Thoughts on WWE banning the curb stomp? I think we answered this in a previous Q&A. A bit questionable, in my opinion. I mean, if you're going to ban the curb stomp, ban the tombstone pile driver. You got. There's so many. Ban the punt. Where do you stop with this? That's my problem with it. It's in my opinion, it was a good move. I mean, for Seth Rollins, it kind of perfectly fit, and he'd been doing it through NXT and everything. What's his finisher now? The pedigree? Oh, great! He's using Triple H's move as a fucking finisher. Woohoo!
I think this is a terrible move because
What, the curb stomp or the
get rid of the curb stomp. I know what you're going to say. I stopped you before you said it. But I just think you're picking on a move because it may have accidentally hurt someone more than it should have during a match. And I think that was a bit of a low thing for the WWE to do because I'm sure sometime in the near future, Orton's could do the punt, like Mr. Parkin said. You're going to have the tombstone, like that's also been mentioned. You're going to have an RKO done onto some kind of object.
Where's the limit? That's
yeah,
the question.
It's terrible.
And we've been friends for years now. You can call me Dan. You don't have to call me Mr. Parkin.
All right, Mr. Parkin.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'll start calling you Mr. J, shall I? But just slightly more on the curb stomp. I think the reason why they did it, like I said in the previous video, was because WWE were afraid that people would try it at home, and it is quite a dangerous move if you do it on someone at home. But that's really all I want to say about that. Does Vince McMahon still think that the majority of WWE fans are 9 years old? He was behind Roman Reigns' Jack and the Beanstalk promo. I mean, I think Vince McMahon thinks that the company are trying to appeal. I think he's trying to appeal to everyone, and I think that's the problem. Parts of the show are trying to appeal to adults, parts of the show trying to be PG. If you're going to do this, you might as well just appeal to one demographic and stick to it. Because I remember Vince Russo saying once that you got this Brock Lesnar thing going on, which the adults are going to like and the kids aren't going to like that much. And then you got like Muppets going on, which the adults ain't going to like, but the kids are going to like. Where's the consistency there with all this stuff?
I'm terrible. I'm gonna say how I feel because you're saying like Vince McMahon aiming towards 9-year-olds, and to be honest, yes, you have Brock Lesnar, but I think a lot of the WWE product is for the lower end. I don't think Brock Lesnar's enough, and I think the main thing is it's a wrestling, not entertainment. It's a wrestling show, so you expect the big bad wrestlers and the good guys having to lose, get their ass kicked and stuff. Not the good guys coming on top so the 9-year-olds can be happy. This is why Brock is so needed, not part-timer. This is why the WWE should be bringing in the top big bad heels that the faces have to keep losing to because the heels win or cheat to win or fluky wins, leading up to the pay-per-view where the faces get the win. So yes, I think the WWE is aimed more at the younger age than the older age.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you can tell by the way they condense down the writing that it's probably done so that kids can understand it, and that comes across as very, very, very bad to us adults that really don't want our intelligence being insulted.
Not at all.
What do you think of the Muppets, Three Stooges, and Pee Wee Herman appearing in Raw? Well, from what I remember, the Muppets were the best part of the Raw they were in because the Raw sucked. The Three Stooges sucked. Pee Wee Herman I quite like, but that's because I enjoy the Pee Wee Herman movie. But I can't remember exactly what he did on Raw.
Muppets promoting. I'm sure the Three Stooges promoted.
It's all promotion, of course it's promotion.
But Pee Wee brought the promotion as well as the entertainment
Yes.
thing, which is why he was brought back in other sketches. I think it's for entertainment purposes, but I think depending on who the person is you bring in for the entertainment purposes depends on the feeling for most fans. One good thing was Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. I think that was a bit of a big, more grown-up.
You could tell he had a passion for it, couldn't you?
There was more to it.
Was it the Wolverine that did that thing with Zack Ryder?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there was Seth
Rogen.
Yeah, I think
Was
it was
Seth Rogen? Or Seth was the one that does the radio show?
Little orange, got short.
Oh, Seth Green.
Seth Green,
Seth
yes.
Green, yeah, the one who does Chris.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So I think it depends on who you bring in, but the ones you've named, yes, they're more for the entertainment purposes as well as the promoting.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell those guys are wrestling fans, couldn't you? Because they just kind of knew what they were doing. You could tell they watched wrestling before, and those are the ones I think I don't mind people like that being on WWE TV. But when you put the fucking Three Stooges on there, I mean, for fuck's sake. Scooby-Doo movie with WWE.
Some
woohoo.
garbage man. Cable man. That was
Yeah, cable guy. Fucking hell. Jack Johnson version 3.
Okay.
Do you like theme pay-per-views like Extreme
Love this
Rules, Money
question.
in the Bank, Hell in a Cell, TLC, etc.? In my opinion, stipulations seem forced and not organic for certain storylines. Yep, totally agree. Like, I don't know when the WWE thought to themselves, well, if we put the stipulation of the match of the pay-per-view, that's really going to draw viewers. I've never really understood. And like you said, they're forced to make these stipulation matches, and they just don't seem organic for the storylines they're given. It's like, well, first match of the feud, oh, we're going to have to give them a Hell in a Cell match because we're at Hell in a Cell. You know, it's stupid in my opinion. Fucking stupid.
I think this whole concept is, yes, you're guaranteed this pay-per-view each year, or this match each year, but yes, the timing sometimes falls into a bad placement.
Always.
And also, the only one that actually really worked was TLC, minus the stupid chairs match, which I just don't, I think is stupid.
And stairs.
Yes, but the other ones,
Extreme Rules is all right.
I've missed Backlash, but
Yeah,
Extreme Rules
I
is
like
fine.
Extreme Rules. That's good because it culminates a lot of the stuff that happens at WrestleMania generally in a
Give it that
stipulation match. But Money in the Bank,
No.
you know, have that at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell, not the right time to do it.
Never.
TLC, you know, okay,
It's
you know, just don't overexpose it too much. And I just think a lot of these match stipulations should be used at certain times in the feud, not as an excuse to put it on a fucking pay-per-view.
So to protect the WWE, I think they should either bring back like Judgment Day, just pay-per-views with a solid name where any match can take place.
Here's an interesting question. I think this is a good question to end this. If the WWE Network was yet to exist, so there's no WWE Network there, it's all pay-per-view buy rate still, what do you think the pay-per-view buy rate would be of the biggest realistic match / pay-per-view the WWE could put together today? So, okay, so I suppose if you're going for pay-per-view buy rate, it will obviously be WrestleMania. Nothing can really compare to the buy rate that WrestleMania would generally do. Now, if you're talking about a match that would put asses in seats, you know, the problem is they seem to have done everything. I mean, Cena Reigns, would that draw? I think the only match that really would draw and it involves two part-timers is Brock versus Rock. That's the only match, in my opinion, that would draw massive numbers or be that big buy rate that WWE could realistically do.
The way I see it is, if they didn't have John Cena defeat Kevin Owens, I think they could have kept on going against each other, probably built up the match type where anything could happen and the feud was actually worth it because it was a match to end the feud and the match that was probably going to give either Cena the win or Kevin Owens the big powerful win. I think it could have worked there, but obviously it's not the case now.
So you think that Cena and Kevin Owens could main event a WrestleMania and draw massive buys? Really?
Maybe not Mania, but I just think that this is one of the feuds that could have.
So if you culminate it as SummerSlam,
I think
that could have. It wouldn't have been a main event though, would it? That's the problem. It never was going to be a main event. And generally speaking, when you talk about buy rates, you're really talking about the main event.
Yes and no. No, it wouldn't have been the main event because it's not for the championship feud. But it could have been the main event because let's say SummerSlam, they wanted their final match to be in a match that rare occurrence because John Cena thinks, I want to settle this, I'm going to defeat you,
Street fight,
I want to face you in a.
Street
I
fight.
think if the feud's been built up to a point where the heel's always won, but the face is going to get the final laugh in a special match, I think it would have worked. But they've blown it for this feud. So yes, we are having to look at matches that involve Brock Lesnar, the future of Roman Reigns.
Part-timers, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point I was trying to make. Like, there's nothing really you can do apart from maybe Cena versus Reigns, which would really draw much. I mean, I think Cena versus Reigns is a SummerSlam main event at best.
Triple H, Reigns.
But other than that, you'd have to introduce part-timers if you were going to make a big pay-per-view buy rate, which doesn't exist anymore, so it probably won't happen. Yeah, that's it. That's another Q&A. Look forward to next week when we have the Q&A basically. That's really it.
And there'll be more questions to answer. Please tune for our next video. We've got hundreds and hundreds of questions
literally hundreds
to answer you. So please continue to ask more in the comment section below. And from the Heartbreak Kid and the very much supporting our home
just
country.
Call me Dan. Just seriously call me Dan.
Mr. Parkin, thank you very much for watching.
So formal.
From Dan and NJ, goodbye.